Hi, it's Lisa Cuneo, and welcome to my scrapbook table. Also, welcome to about the 5th attempt to create this voiceover. We'll see if I can get this one done. So, this is a double page layout using these bright, pretty papers from a Joann's paper pad that I picked up at a yard sale for about $5. I show you some wood veneer there and a camera, but I don't end up using those. I have a few thickers. Some are Vicky Bouton, and I don't know what the other one is. They might both be Vicky Bouton. I have 5 photos from the Bahamas, and for a little while I debate about only using 4, but I decide I really wanted that 5th one in there, so I make it work. I'm using a cut file from Lori Whitlock. Let me look up what day that was for 31 days of cut files from last month. Yeah, it was day 24 from Janet and MK's 31 days of cut files. There you can see how I have my photos arranged, and that's, even though I play with it a bit later, that's how they end up. These papers, I inked all of the edges, and because these papers are so flimsy, the edges didn't ink well. I don't like how the ink bleeds into them, so I probably won't do that on these papers again. I used Tip Top Taupe from Stampin' Up! Because I needed a lighter color than I usually use for inking my edges. And this worked just right. I also eventually used that to color the white part of that cut file that you see there with all the arrows. I backed it with just various wood grains. Those were also mostly from a pack of Stampin' Up! Wood grain paper. My title is going to be Hello Nassau because we were spending the day in Nassau in the Bahamas. At first I think my title is all going to be on the left-hand page, but I end up moving it to the right. And so half is on the left, half is on the right. And the title then is just Hello Nassau. We have been in the Bahamas before, but we had never been in Nassau, so this was new for us. That title took me a lot of work. I cut several layers. The hello is all one word, but Nassau is individual letters. And when I first had it ready to go, I realized the wood grain that I used just was not dark enough to stand out well against that busy print. And I did want it on the pink print. Right now you see it on the green, but I end up putting it on the pink floral. So I had to cut everything all over again and adhere some more. So there's a lot of layers to that title. And here I decided, even though I had to squeeze it in, I did really want the photograph of us, of the water, of us sailing into the port. When we've been on a cruise, I've always enjoyed being out on the deck and watching as we sail into a new port. That's really exciting. So now I have the darker Hello Nassau letters. I'm gluing that on. I did the N and the U first over there because I knew where I wanted it to end and begin. And then I fit the other letters into the center. So this is a layout for 31 days of cut files. It's also for Scraptember of 2023. And this is day 27 that I'm doing for fussy cutting. And I did a ton of fussy cutting, which you'll see in a moment. So the title is down, and I have filled in the ends of the horizontal band with wood grain. I decided I needed that wood grain in there. And so here I take a piece of that paper and decide I'm going to fussy cut all those flowers and leaves. And I actually ended up fussy cutting 2 pages of that. And I did not have you watch that. There's the pile that I'll make my embellishment clusters with. And now I'm going to color the white part of this cut file. I wouldn't have had to do that, but I think I like it. I cut out most of the coloring. I use Stampin' Up! Tip Top Taupe with a blender pen, and I mixed that or added on some gold from an alcohol marker. It's a Hobby Lobby one. It's called the Fine Touch. And so there, that's all colored in. This page, this layout doesn't have journaling on it because journaling about our day here in Nassau will be on the pages that come after this. But I do add words to that, the wood grain paper on the cut file. And I just listed places that we saw in Nassau that day. I also added beach. We didn't go to the beach that day because the whole next day was going to be a beach day. But beach is a big part of being in the Bahamas. And I've decided I'm going to use some foam tape to bump up the arrow ends of each of those pieces of wood in the cut file. And again, I don't have you watch all of that. That took me quite a while to piece together, but there it is. And now I'm creating my embellishment clusters. I do one at the top left, one in the center of the bottom, and there's a little bit on the left page and a little bit on the right page, but I'm treating those as one cluster, and then one on the top right. I wish I could have put the one in the top right more toward the center of that page, like about 6 inches down, but it just wasn't going to fit there, so it ends up on the top. I don't know that I have ever layered this many flowers and leaves to make embellishment clusters, but it was really fun and I really like how it turned out. I don't know how much you'll be able to see on the camera, but in person, there is so much texture and dimension to those embellishment clusters. I did at the very end use foam tape under the ends of some of the flower petals and leaves to create even more dimension behind them. So that was really fun. That was something new and different for me to do. It took quite a while to layer these all up, but I wasn't real picky about what went where. I just made sure each cluster had at least one big flower, some small ones, and then leaves to create layers. But that was a ton of fussy cutting. I did that while I watched an episode of Chopped. And here I'm layering more flowers. This day in the Bahamas was incredibly hot and humid. I don't love hot weather, so it was kind of hard on me. We didn't stay in Nassau as long as we might have otherwise, because after a while I just needed to get back to the ship and cool off for a bit. But it was beautiful. Many years ago, over 20 years ago, we went on a mission trip to Madagascar, and this was the first place I have ever been when I was in the city in Nassau that felt like being in the capital city of Madagascar. The air felt like it. The humidity felt like it. The sense of the plants and the heat on the streets. It's the first place I've ever been that took me back to those days in the capital city of Madagascar. That was an interesting thing to feel all those decades later. So these pictures, there's one of us sailing into the port. There's a picture of a government building, actually 2 show government buildings and some statues there. One is just a gorgeous tree that I really liked. There's a lamppost in front of it, and I just like that picture. There's also one of us taking this overpriced little tour on a horse-drawn carriage. We felt like we needed some way to get the lay of the land, so to speak. We'd never been there. We were having trouble getting a map, which that'll come up later. So we just went ahead and did this little quick tour, and it was helpful. It helped us know where things were in comparison to where we were starting. And we then did find a map because the police station is right near that buggy tour that we took. And in the police station, you could get a map. The regular place that you usually get a map was under construction that day, so we couldn't go in there and get a map. So there I have done my journaling with a white pen and some close-ups of those embellishment clusters. I really like how the cut file turned out. I like the white pen on that wood grain paper. It's funny, I haven't used a white Jelly Roll pen in probably 3 years, and I've used it twice this week on 2 different layouts. I end up putting this butterfly on here. I really wish I had 2 more of them so I could put them in the other embellishment clusters too. But the other butterflies in that set just, they're the wrong colors to go on this page. So I debated taking the butterfly off, but I ended up leaving it. I like it there, and so it's going to stay. Now I think about adding some enamel dots, which is a pretty common way for me to finish off a layout. And I find a page of, or a sheet of enamel dots that have 2 colors that are perfect for this. But when I started to put them on, I just decided, nope, I think it's going to be done the way it is. So the layout's finished. The close-ups are coming up here in a moment. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. Have a great day. Goodbye.